So they want us to cut us down. So I have like my 20-page speech that I'm going to knock down to about 10. About 6 weeks ago, I got a message on Facebook, and I was asked if I would come here and speak, and I was a little dumbfounded. I was like, "What? You want me to go speak?" And then I had to read it again because I wanted to make sure that I was reading the message correctly. And after I read it the second time, I started to cry. And I asked myself, well, why would they want me to go down there, and why would they want me to speak? You know, I'm just this guy, you know, who went through a hell of a lot of shit and came out on top after a long, hard battle. And I thought about it, and I said, why would I? I mean, I opened up a nonprofit called the AlexZander Foundation for Abused Kids. I wrote a book called Brand New Too Much Trouble, which is a book based on my childhood life of abuse. And I actually had a really good sitting down time with myself and asked God, why me? What makes me so important? Is it the fact that I have a book? Is it the fact that I have a nonprofit? And I thought about it a lot. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. I grew up in Los Angeles, California, and I had what I considered a typical family. I had a mom and dad, 2 older brothers, a baby sister. We had pretty much the biggest house on the block. My family lived within blocks of each other, so every Saturday and every Sunday we always got together, every holiday. It was a great family. There was nothing wrong with our family. It was perfect. For me, it was, at least at 7 or 8 years old. And then one night, there was a party, and this man killed my brother and my cousin right on our front steps. And that destroyed my family. And not just my immediate family, but my whole family. My mom went one way, my dad went another way. My sister stayed with my dad. They sent my older brother and myself to go live with these so-called friends. And that is exactly when my nightmare began. My mom had arranged for us to have our own bedroom. She bought us new beds and dressers and linen and everything else. She had all her toys and all her clothes. Everything moved in, and within 2 weeks, everything was gone. I started being starved. I wasn't allowed to sit on the furniture. I started being beat, started being molested. I got to eat the leftover stuff off of the kids' foods. I slept in the laundry room. My blanket was a baby's blanket. It was torn up. In the middle of the night, when rats would eat at my scabs and wake me up. And they finally took me out of there when they figured out what was going on. And they put me in a foster home. And when I got to that foster home, they said to me, by the way, we want to tell you something. Your mom and your dad aren't your mom and your dad. And your mom is actually your aunt. And you can no longer call your mom or dad mom and dad anymore. But we're going to put you in this foster home, and you're going to call these people your mom and dad. And in that process, what they started to do was tell me all the wrong things that were wrong with my mom, all the wrong things that were wrong with my dad. And you see, all I knew about my mom and my dad is they took good care of me. They loved me. When I fell down, cracked my head open 7 times, my dad was the first person to get up and get pissed off at me and take me down and get stitches. But you know what? That was my dad. And so every time these people turned around and they said something bad about my dad, and every time they said something bad about my mother, and they both became alcoholics, they both had nervous breakdowns. Our family was destroyed. But every time that they said something bad about my family, they were telling me I was bad. And when they put me in a foster home, they turned around and started telling me, the reason why you can't live with us is because you're too much trouble. Because I was boisterous, because I threw tantrums. Because I was crying, because I wanted my family. And nobody listened. See, I come from that old school. Children are to be seen and not heard. And the problem is that when you stop a child from expressing themselves, when you don't allow them to say, hey, listen to me, somebody is hurting me, you are abusing that child. When you turn around and you tell somebody, your dad is good for nothing, then you're saying you're good for nothing because you're just like your dad. When you say your mom's a drunk, we're saying you're a drunk. And I grew up with that, and I didn't know that that was the damage that was being done to me, along with others. So I lived in and out of foster homes for quite a while and got tired of them. I was being raped, I was being beaten, and I was running away. And I made my way up to Hollywood, and I became a 12-year-old prostitute. And I was safer on the streets of Hollywood than I was in a foster home. I knew the rules of the streets. And I knew that it was my rules and wasn't their rules. I didn't have to listen to other people tell me what was wrong with me, what was wrong with my family. The court systems got a little pissed off at me. So they decided they were going to send me to a boys' home, which is where I lived for approximately the next 4 years. 16 years old, I filed emancipation papers, became a legal adult, 17, graduated, and made my way back to Hollywood. But when I went to Hollywood, it was a different reason. See, I went to Hollywood because I was going to be a star. I was going to be famous. I was going to win an Oscar. I was going to be rich. I was going to have everything. I was going to take care of my mom, take care of my dad, my brothers, my sisters. But there was a problem. And the problem was I didn't have the tools. I didn't know how to take care of me. Nobody taught me how to take care of me. I didn't have the mom, the dad, who could sit there and say, that's wrong, go to your room. Or give me a good swat on the ass like my dad used to. I didn't have that parenting. I lived in and out of foster homes. I was a runaway. No matter what I did was bad. So I did what I did best. I became an escort. And I did a lot of drugs. And I switched living in and out of foster homes to living in and out of jail. And that's how my life went. But my whole life wasn't a total mess up. See, I did have good things. I worked for the Center for Disease Control for a while. I was one of the people who introduced the oral HIV testing system. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm positive. I've been HIV positive, living with AIDS for 30 years. Considered what they call a long-term survivor. And in the early 80s, in the mid-80s, and then the early 90s, and the mid-90s, every single one of my friends died. And in that time, all I did was pray the same way I did when I was a kid for God to let me die. Because that's all I wanted. I never took meds, I never did anything. I said, you know what, I'm going to let God kill me. Just take me, because I want to die, because I am not happy. And I protested like I'm doing now. I stood up on the podiums. I talked about our rights. We were discriminated against. I did everything possible. I did a lot of really great things in my adult life, as well as be a great addict and a great whatever. So when it comes back to the question, why should I be here? Why should I be speaking? So again, it's not because of my nonprofit, it's not because of my book, and it's not because of my life. It's for one simple reason, because I believe in change. See, despite all the things that have ever happened to me, the system failing me, my parents unable to be the parents that I knew them to be, everything that went wrong in my life all adds up to one thing. See, I'm a great man. I'm not a great man because I've done anything great. I'm a great man because I believe that I'm great. See, the only thing that I ever had in my life was anger. And I used my anger to turn my life around. I used the anger until that anger became love. So what do I want to do now? I just want to keep doing what I do. I want to go out there and I want to talk to the kids that come from the same places that I come from. I want them to see that, look, you don't have to do the same thing I did when I was an adult. You don't have to make those choices. You can make better choices. Don't follow my path. It's the wrong one. It's hurtful, not only to yourself, but to everybody else. See, when you come from an abused circumstances like I did, one thing you learn how to self-abuse. And we can teach these kids how not to do it. We can talk to them. We can inspire them. We can allow them to know who and what they are. And that's simple to me. They're beautiful, magnificent human beings, just like each and every one of us sitting right here. We all have purpose, we all have goals, and we all have reasons. So the AlexZander Foundation is created to help those kids. We're just starting a 1,000 book launch. We want to have 1,000 books donated of my story, a book of inspiration, one that turns around and tells my story but doesn't say my name. It just tells my story. It talks about how you can go from one place to another place, but how you can change that life, that you don't have to stay where you're at. You see, my thing is this. I learned one thing, and I think all kids who grow up in the system, all kids who are prone to abuse, all should know one thing. They're lying to you. They are lying to you. You're not stupid. You're not ugly. You're not fat. You're not black. You're not white. You're not all those negative things all these people tell you. Hell no. Don't listen to them. Believe in what and who you are, because that is the most important thing. It's in your heart. God put it there. And all I want to do Let's turn around and let you know that I believe in what God believes, and that you are magnificent who you are. Thank you.